Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September the 3rd, and we are back again for another edition of Tuesday Talks with Tonia. Today's topic is dealing with women and mental health, and my guest speaker is Dr. Jackson of Jackson Services LLC. She will be talking about the women and their mind capacity, how we always have our minds full of stuff all the time, because I know I do. And sometimes we don't even open up and share with others about it. So that's our topic for today. Welcome to those joining us for the first time, and welcome back to those that are returning. So we're going to dive right in. Thank you for agreeing to be my guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
I'm
have been a
humbled.
blessing. You're a blessing. She's been a blessing to me personally. So I know her from way back, and we've done a lot of stuff together. And
We
it's been
have.
good work,
We
and
have.
I
Learned a
appreciate
lot.
you. Yes,
Thank you.
yes, on the journey.
Yes.
It's been a journey. So for today, we're going to really delve into the topic of women mental health. What things we can do to not be so stressed and not bottle everything up. Because I know for me, sometimes I bottle a lot of stuff up, as I've shared with you. So my first question to you is, what made you want to become a licensed professional counselor?
Yes. That's a personal journey of my own. I suffered trauma as a child when I lost my mom at the age of 14. I went through a period of depression, suicidal ideation. I knew that when someone else saw the gifts that I had in me at the time that I wasn't able to see for myself, I knew I had a purpose. I knew that God placed me in a situation to be a platform to help others who may go through what I went through.
And so how did that journey begin? Other than the trauma, but like when you went to school, did you know you were going to take
No, not at all.
psychology or?
Not at all. Not at all. I had to start off seeing a therapist because I wasn't eating. My grandmother, uh, pastor, bless her soul, she prayed me through this, but she realized that, hey, there may be something here on this earth that I need to seek someone who can help her cope with what she's going through.
Okay.
And as a result, I was referred to a counselor. So I had a counselor when I was about 14. She wasn't a very good one. However,
Well, you're
at
honest.
the time,
It
in
is.
retrospect, but I think she served the purpose
Right.
that, hey, there is a way out, that I don't have to feel the way I'm feeling. I
Right.
don't have to let these negative feelings drive all of these behaviors and some of the things that I was becoming involved in as a result of my depression.
Okay. And so school-wise, what did you take in school? Like, what was your major in college?
Psychology. Initially, I was like, listen, tell me what subject. I don't have to take a lot of math. That was the truth.
That would be me.
And
That
I
would be
said,
me.
I want to help people. I
Yeah.
love people. I want to help people understand their power as individuals.
Okay.
So my initial major was psychology,
Okay.
and I also took up classes in forensic psychology as
Oh,
well.
wow. Oh,
But
wow.
definitely psychology and sociology were my key focuses.
So tell us all of your credentials.
Okay. So I have a bachelor's in psychology and sociology. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I also, my doctorate degree is in general psychology because I didn't want to only focus on the counseling realm. I wanted to get industrial, organizational management counseling, school counseling. So I received a variety of counseling training.
Okay.
And then later in life, at one point, I said, you know what? I want to teach.
Oh, wow.
So I'm also a licensed teacher in the state
Wow.
of Georgia in science, K through 12.
Oh,
So
wow.
I am a licensed professional counselor, a certified professional counselor supervisor. So I supervise others who may be attempting to get their licensure in counseling. And I'm also a certified core current professional diplomat. And what that does is, because I realize that depression and most mental illnesses don't occur by themselves, they're often accompanied by substance abuse. So I specialize in diagnosing and treating both of those when they co-occur together.
That's a lot.
So yes.
So you are definitely a woman. Like at some point, I know you need counseling yourself.
Yes.
And how long have you been in this career?
19 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yes,
Wow.
99.
Wow.
I finished my bachelor's in 2000, but in 99 was when I started my internship. and things like that. So
Wow.
1999. Yes.
Wow. That was a special year.
Yes.
So you said you have general counseling behind your name. Do you have a specific age group that you deal with, or is it anyone?
No, not at all. Anyone. I prefer adolescents, high risk adolescent groups, but I also have older adults. I see some geriatric population. It's not my preference, but most of my clients are anywhere between 5 and 65.
Okay.
And normally, if it's geriatric, I'll screen that for more, because
Are they harder?
There are so many other health issues that kind of interfere with that. So you have to keep a close relationship with any of the counseling individuals that I'm counseling, but especially with geriatric population, because dementia can look a lot like a urinary tract infection. You know, so there are so many factors that you have to screen for.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Statistics that I read online say that anxiety and depression are more common in women. Do you have a reason why you think that is?
Yes, women, we definitely have to be aware, because there are several factors that are working against us in that. First of all, there's the cultural factor. Women, when we are expressing depression, we're normal, and anxiety, we're inclined to pull things inwardly. You know, we're inclined to kind of deal with it inwardly. That makes us shut the world off. It makes us kind of, you know, put everything internally. Men, on the other hand, are externally, because that's why they're more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder or substance abuse, because they're going to act out. You're going to see their depression come out in anger and aggression. But women, on the other hand, it is internally. So we are statistically, we attempt more suicides, but men complete suicides more often. And that's why, because we're inward reavers and not really letting those emotions out. And we're culturally inclined to do that, to be the backbone, the strength of the family, and holding on. So we think that we can deal with it internally. The other piece is a key piece, ladies, and you have to really understand this, that our stress cycle is different from that of men. Meaning that once we get stress and anxiety, we're genetically programmed to have a harder time to deal with it, because the more cortisol, that's our stress hormone. Here's the biology part. And that's why I didn't realize in life how it helped me becoming a science teacher. Our cortisol actually increases with the stress, while our sex hormone estrogen prevents that from cutting off like it should. Men don't have that problem because their sex hormone is not progesterone, it's ours. So as a result, we don't have anything to cut off our cortisol like it should. So we're extra prone to be stressed and the anxiety and worry, and that's biologically based. So anything, the three hormones, the three neurotransmitters in the brain are dopamine, our serotonin levels, and the norepinephrine. All of this is affected. And guess what? There's another one. Menstrual cycle. They're fluctuating during this time. So all of these hormones in our body we're having to deal with. And if we're in a perimenopausal stage, that's the stage right before menopause, everything is out of whack. All of those sex hormones that we're talking about. So that's the biological piece that we're having to deal with.
So that makes sense why we are more prone to
that
depression and anxiety, because we don't know how to let it out.
Like we are genetically inclined to just, you know, be there, and we have to deal with all this because we're childbearers, and these are the hormones that God blessed us with. So we have to be extra vigilant when we're looking at life stressors.
And take them out if we can.
Yes.
Statistics say that 1 in 5 women in the U.S. has a mental health problem, such as depression, PTSD, which I read that women have more PTSD than men. And to me, that just seems unfathomable, because you think about the military and, you know, men dealing with PTSD more than women, but we actually do. Or eating disorders. Do you think women see a need to get professional help? And if they don't, why not?
That goes back to that cultural feature. We're strong. We don't want to net. You know, I see so many memes about you just don't know what I've been through. You know, sometimes it's okay, ladies. Let's talk about it. Let's seek that help that we need. Let's make sure that our circle is full of women or
Yes.
men or individuals, whoever it
Yes.
is, who
Yes.
uplift us and
Yes.
who we're able to talk to and say,
Yes.
look, I'm
Yes.
having a hard time. I'm
Right.
trying to be a wife. I'm trying to
Right.
be a girlfriend, if that's the
Right.
case, a
Right.
mom. You know, I'm hormonal right now. You know, so there are a lot of factors that impact that. And so a lot of times we don't seek the help that we need because we feel like, I got this. I'm going to
Right.
kick this habit.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you have to realize that if something lasts longer than 2 weeks and the intensity, the frequency and duration of these depressive and anxious episodes, that's when it gets to be diagnosable by
Oh,
someone
wow.
like me.
Okay.
You know, when it's a
2 weeks.
persistent
Past 2
pattern,
weeks.
about 2 weeks,
Okay.
and then depending on the intensity of it.
Okay.
So yes,
When you think about it, when I think about it, especially from a Black female perspective, but female in general, we are looked at as the superwoman, the
right.
shero. We have to save everybody.
That's right.
We have to save the children. We have to save our bosses. We have to save the church.
Mhm.
And we're the ones that are hurting and suffering.
Exactly.
And even when at church, and it's nothing, I'm a firm believer in church and God, but I think a lot of times churches kind of sweep stuff under the rug, like just
Exactly.
pray about it. Well, praying hasn't helped me yet.
No.
You know, not that
No.
it can't, but
It-
I think we have to
it
have
will.
something more than prayer. You have to have an outlet, and you have to have somebody that's willing to listen to you without judgment. And I think that's a lot of times why we don't share, because we don't want to be judged.
Exactly.
We don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be, kicked when we're
Mhm.
already down.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, even in our church arenas, we're like, yeah, I know I have a pastor. I know we have counselors on staff, but I just don't feel comfortable
Exactly.
sharing with that
Exactly.
person. So that's where you come in and say,
Exactly.
hey, I can be that person because, I'm out here. I'm an abstract person. I don't
Exactly.
know you personally like that. Or if you do know someone personally,
Mhm.
but still just having that outlet where, a lot of times I may say stuff to my sister, but then again, I may not.
Exactly.
Because we all have our own issues. And it's like, I don't want to dump on her because she got her own stuff going on, or even our friends, our circle, So sometimes we just have to be bold enough and
Mhm.
confident enough to reach out to somebody, even if
Exactly.
it's a licensed professional counselor.
Exactly. I do
Not hold
believe
it in.
God imparts that wisdom and knowledge onto people who can help us,
Right.
because faith without works is
It's
what?
dead.
It's
It's dead.
So you have to understand that, yes, I'm a faith-based counselor.
Right.
And I think God has blessed me to serve as a platform. And that's what I explain to a lot of pastors, because I do have some referrals from pastors that
Mhm.
maybe your church members may not feel comfortable because they
Right.
want someone who's objective
Right.
and neutral.
Right.
And that's the thing. We have what we call unconditional positive regard.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I agree with everything that you do, but I am going to make every attempt to see the world through your eyes
Mhm.
and validate your feelings
Mhm.
and your emotions.
And I think that's very important. That's very key, especially if we're willing to open ourselves up. At least
Yes,
try to walk not even a mile in my shoes, a block in my shoes.
exactly.
And then I will be more apt to share and be honest and open. As a woman in this profession and dealing with some of the same issues, how do you cope?
I would say this: being a counselor and having these knowledge and skills does not make me immune.
Right.
In fact,
Right.
I'll be very transparent, Tonia.
Yes.
Back in April, and my mom figure is here with me to share this. So I was diagnosed with a condition, sarcoidosis. And for me, in April, I knew that I was getting sick. I didn't have as much energy. I
Mhm.
was fatigued. And I've only shared it with my family and friends. I prayed about it once I
Yeah.
got over that to say,
Yeah.
God, we even
Yeah.
talked on the phone,
Yeah.
and you were fussing
Yeah.
like, why didn't you call me?
Right.
I
Right.
spent almost a month in the hospital.
Mm.
And sarcoidosis is something that's for a whole nother show,
Okay.
but it affects African Americans 10 to 17% more than the average population.
Oh,
They
wow.
don't know what causes it. For those of you who know, I know the few family and friends that I did share, they were like, what? So it's a condition. It mostly affects your lungs, but it has the capacity to affect eyes, any organ in the body.
Mm.
They don't know what causes it,
Mm.
but they think that it's related to autoimmune. And if you had someone in your family who had lupus or some
Oh,
of the
wow.
other, it makes you more genetically predisposition, but they don't know what causes it. There is
Mm.
no cure.
Oh.
However, the symptoms go dormant. But the medication that they use to treat it, which is a powerful steroid, it causes other conditions. So I
Mm.
instantly became a diabetic.
Oh,
I
my.
had to watch what I eat. Now, my body still produces insulin.
Yeah.
So I have to, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So there were numerous other problems that came about, but it knocked me off my feet.
Wow.
I went into a period of depression.
Yeah.
And I said, Lord, this is between you and I,
Yeah.
and it was just a time for me to reconnect, regroup. But being transparent, being a counselor, it challenged me to practice what I preach.
Wow.
To sit myself on my couch, and I said, Lord, I don't know the platform, I had all these mixed emotions, just feeling like, what did I do? But who am I?
Right.
That's what I say. Who am I? I'm not immune to this. So that for me, challenging me to practice what I preach and to actually be mindful when my mind is full.
Right. And that's exactly what the topic is about, because you carrying everybody else's burdens, and then here you are with this burden that you didn't want to share.
Yes.
But you can't be free unless you let it go.
Knock me off my butt, son. I work for myself.
Right.
So I have contracts in places. So it's like either you work or you don't get paid.
That's right. Or you don't eat.
But when I say he will provide,
he will.
He did that.
He will.
He had people who, just everything was in place.
Yeah.
But I had to change the way I think about it. I thought about that situation.
And I'm glad you shared that, because a lot of times, like you said, we hold stuff in.
We do.
And I don't know if it's because we're trying to be strong, or we're ashamed, or, whatever the reason is. But you go, like, I really did fuss at her, y'all, like, really bad.
She did.
I was like, you've been in the hospital. What? How long? What? And you didn't call, pick up the phone?
I didn't want my mom to come see me. I didn't want anybody. I said, don't you tell anyone. Don't you say nothing. I just shut the world off. Just like, no, don't tell. Like, it was literally about 3 people at the hospital that I allowed to come. And most of my family is either in Indiana, Chicago, or Alabama.
Right.
So, my Augusta family, that's what I call them, but I only allowed 3. Like, it was horrible. And I was in that place, but I had to have a true and real conversation with God and with myself.
Absolutely. And it'll drive you to do that. A lot of times we get to going so much that, God becomes an afterthought.
Yeah.
And he'll stop you real quick, like, hey, let me talk to you. Come here. Let me have a conversation with you. And we have to be mindful of that. That's why when the mind gets full, I think about Johnny Gill has a song called The Soul of a Woman.
Yes.
But it's really the mind of a woman.
It is.
I was talking to a young man on the way up here, and he was like, y'all women something else. He's like, this is a good topic. He said, because one minute you know what you want and the next minute you don't. I was like, well, sometimes we women can be finicky. We can be, change our minds at the drop of a hat, and it's okay, but we don't understand how it affects others, especially the men. And sometimes they can't handle it.
No.
They're like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for all of this. You are tripping. But it's not that. It's like we have a hard time, because we're always trying to please everybody else.
Exactly.
Women are pleasers, so we put ourselves last. I know I do. And that's a bad habit, and I'm working on it. But a lot of times it's easier for us to just say, okay, whatever, you want, whatever it's going to be, we'll let it be. Even if it's not what we're comfortable with, even if it's not what we like, because we don't like conflict as women. We're not. No. Most women.
And that's naturally to avoid.
There are a few that do like conflict and like to fight, but for the most part, we're not fighters. You're the nurturer, the lover, the caring woman, healers. Exactly. We want to make everything better. Yes. We want everybody else to be good. Meanwhile, we falling apart. And I've had to learn over this last year with my mom passing, because you were there for me when my mom passed. Yes. And it was just something that out of the blue, you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't ready for any of this. And on top of that, you have other issues, and we're dealing with finances, we're dealing with careers, we're dealing with family. Children. And it's like, wait, time out. I need a time out. Yes. So thank you for being who you are. What do you suggest we do to maintain our mental health as women?
So just how I talked about, depression has different faucets. For each faucet, you have to have different interventions. First of all, if it's social in your environment that's stressing you, I say mind the business that pays you.
Okay.
Good. Don't get me wrong, that if there are people in your circle who need your time and attention, and it doesn't cost you your livelihood, please help. So be mindful of your circle that you keep. I want to keep a team of people. I am intentional about keeping a team of people around me who are positive.
Right.
Who I can bring something to their life. They can bring something to my life. It's a reciprocal relationship. So be mindful of your social circle.
That's right.
That's one of the faucets. The other is be mindful of your body, your health, all of it. Make sure your menstrual cycle, it's normal for you to feel a little cranky and crabby when it comes to certain times of the month. It's okay. That's why we're women. That's why we're superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to hang this cape up for a minute, but guess what? I'm going to put it back on real quick when I need to. So just be mindful of your body. Eat right. Walk for at least, if you can't do it 30 minutes a day, do it in 10-minute increments, 5 minutes a day. Walk. Get sunlight. Sunlight is directly tied to serotonin levels.
Oh, wow.
That's why in the winter, depression increases. The number of suicides and suicide attempts increase. That sun, you need to go out and get some sun, just a few minutes a day now. But it does. It's directly related to your serotonin. So take care of your health. Make sure thyroid, hypothyroidism, which is that underactive thyroid, it causes depression. So that's something that has to be diagnosed by a medical doctor. So make sure that it's no underlying health condition. The final thing is target your cognitive thinking. A lot of us, sometimes we are programmed to think negative. We have that. It's a whole list of what we call cognitive distortion when we think things in a negative way, because thoughts and feelings drive our behavior. So if you're thinking negative, you're going to act negative. So don't be careful with the all or nothing thinking. Everything doesn't have to be black and white. Sometimes it's gray, just the way it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Don't hold yourself too accountable with these mental filters. Like, I have to do this way, and I didn't stick to this goal this week. So what?
Right.
Write it down. Do it next week. Or get to it when you can. Another thing is very powerful, what we have emotional reasoning. Sometimes we're so in our feelings, or like I say, our limbic system. We have to make decisions from our frontal lobe. And that's the hardest thing to do, because there's two different parts of the brain. And that's going to cause you to stop, think, and wait a little while. Because if the brain has went into distress, it takes at least 60 minutes for it to get back right, for me to make a rash decision. So we have to make decisions from an emotional, not from an emotional standpoint, but from an executive function. That frontal lobe, that's this part of this brain. Now, of course, it's not fully developed until we're 22, 23. So that's why we help children and adolescents along the way. But we want to make those decisions. So it's about cognitive restructuring. The way you look at the world, don't be your own worst enemy. Do positive affirmations. My best friend started something called the Happy Planner, and I was looking at her like she was crazy doing it, but she's so OCD, but that's her world for her, and it works for her. So we started these planners, and they're really happy. I'm obsessed with it now because it helps me plan my life out. I put stickers here. I had a bad day, but those are just coping skills for me. So you do what works for you. Find your happy place, your thoughts, no matter how small it is. Just recognize the need that, hey, I need to talk to you. Just do yourself a favor. Just love you. Love you. And you do that through mind, body, spirit, everything. It works together. It's a balance.
And that's one thing we don't have. Women are typically out of balance.
Yes, that's the
all
thing.
the time. I know I am. I'm all over the place, but I'm doing better. I'm trying to be more strategic and more mindful of, hey, where I would say yes before, I'm like,
That's
not today. I'm sorry.
I fully exercise my right to say no.
Absolutely. And it's hard when you're used to saying yes. It's hard to get to that no, but when you get there, it's like, whew. Oh yeah, now it's no all the time.
And it doesn't require an explanation.
No,
it's
no.
A whole sentence.
It's just no. It's just no. Absolutely. No. So how can people get in touch with you if they'd like to reach out to you?
Okay, yes, I am. Of course, my email address, jcounselingservices@yahoo.com. Also, I have a number, 706-592-8958. That's a direct number. And of course, word of mouth. Email me. Hey, I'm on Facebook also. So please reach out. You need to help. I do presentations to schools, to hospitals. Education is a central, passionate piece to me. I didn't understand at the time when God placed me in the educational system, but that season has propelled other seasons, because a lot of my referrals do come from probation officers. I've worked with the Department of Juvenile Justice on and off since 2005. So, it's just, you have different seasons in your life.
Absolutely.
And you have to recognize them and take advantage of them and always establish positive relationships.
Yes.
And if you have to end a relationship, do it the right way.
That's right.
As
That's
best
right.
you can. Do it the
Absolutely.
right way.
Absolutely. Well, I
Anyway,
have enjoyed our
thank
conversation.
you. Thank you for
We
having me.
have again Dr. Jackson, and she's a licensed professional counselor,
Mhm.
Jackson Counseling Services LLC,
Yes.
and she's local here
Yes.
in Augusta, Georgia.
Right here.
So if you need a counselor, if you need somebody to talk to, reach out to her, or reach out to me. Come across the Tuesday Talks with Tonia page. Come across Dr. Jackson's page. She'll be more than glad to take you on. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you,
I
love.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It's been such
Okay.
a blessing. Thank you all. Now we're getting ready to sign off. For those of you that are live, join us again in 2 weeks. Just follow the Facebook page. You'll be able to see what topics we'll have. Again, we're here at the Hyatt House, downtown Augusta, Georgia. We're going to sign out and do our Q&A. But if you have questions, you can send them to the Facebook page, and someone will address them shortly. Thank you, guys. So we're going to end this.
Okay. Thank y'all.